Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of CS Cyber. I'm Chad.
And I'm Sean.
And today we're continuing our NIST 800-171 series, and we're talking about personnel security.
Ooh, it's my thing now.
This is right in your wheelhouse, man.
Yeah, so ex-law enforcement here. So personnel security is definitely my thing. And we're talking about controlled unclassified information. Maintaining a very robust security posture is extremely important, right? And this can definitely be one of those areas that's overlooked. So let's dive into it. There's a couple key requirements. One of the biggest ones being, screening personnel before they're granted access. And I actually have an interesting story around this, of course, right? I always have a story. The practice of doing initial screening, but then not re-screening when you're done. Meaning, you hire a new person, right, and you screen them. So you use a third party, you do a background check, they come back clean.
Yeah.
5 years later, do you background check them again? Like, do you...
You mean like current employees?
Yes.
Just like...
Yes. You need to do that. Okay. You 100% need to do that because we have had I have seen many situations where the pre-screening is done. And this is actually a law enforcement example. There was an organization that I worked for where they had done, obviously, if you're going to be a police officer, there's an extensive background check.
Right.
Right? Okay. So then like 10 years later, somebody committed a crime in another state while they were on vacation and then came back. And nobody ever saw anything. For
like an officer?
Yeah.
Or an employee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when they rescreened them, they found the conviction. They had been convicted in another state. So they kept it quiet. So it was like a simple assault or something. It wasn't like
like a bar fight or something, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. It wasn't, they didn't kill anybody.
Right.
But I'm not downgrading simple assault. I'm just saying it was a low enough thing that there weren't phone calls made to where this person worked to tell on them. So they would just fly out and take care of the case, right, and come back. And then they just finished it all up, and he never said anything. So when they did the background check again, that's when they found the conviction out of state. So I think conducting background checks is obviously very important, but I also think conducting regular ongoing background checks is important. So the other thing is ensuring that when you offboard somebody, that you've taken care of all their access, their keys, their any equipment that you issued them, and all those types of things. So just two big things to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think that part is really easy, right? People are usually pretty good at like disabling Sean's account and taking his laptop back. It's all the things that Sean knows, the shared passwords, the locks to the doors, the keys that, that's the part that I see it most commonly get tripped up on.
Right. So there's two easy sub-controls here. Just screening individuals prior to authorization, as well as ensuring that the systems containing CUI are protected. Also, just, we talked about the pre-employment screening, so making sure that you establish those guidelines for what is not okay.
Right.
Just because they have something in their background doesn't necessarily mean that they can't get hired, but what are those criteria, right? Security awareness training, definitely making sure that new employees who come on board immediately get enrolled in security awareness training so that you can start that baseline. And then all those access termination protocols and monitoring after they've been terminated to make sure that they don't log back in or putting some type of report or filter on to know when terminated employees are logging back in again. Right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Just kind of from my practice, right? I mean, the personnel security, the people process and technology, the people part of this can be your biggest asset or your biggest weakness, right? So I think really having a solid process around like the screening, the security awareness training, and really establishing that culture will help you kind of long term.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the best practices, of course, the comprehensive screening process, standardize to make it consistent. So don't do something different every time. So make it a consistent process and checks for all personnel who have access to CUI. And then the security responsibilities agreement is like the acceptable use policy, but I would consider it a rider. So we're talking about a very specific document that is required for employees to sign that they are acknowledging and agreeing to their security obligations.
Right.
And what are some examples of what that might be? So maybe that's a clean desk policy. Maybe that's a no piggybacking policy, right? Those types of things, right? So that's what they're going to agree to.
Yep.
And then establishing that personnel exit procedure. Again, making sure that it's consistent, it's followed, and somebody's overseeing that.
Yeah, that's really got to be solid. I mean, that's your last chance before they walk out the door.
So we've got some products out there, like we always do. Standard background check services, the Checker, Hire Right. What's the one we use?
Sterling. Yeah, there's all kinds.
Yeah, there's a ton of them out there. Identity Access Management Solutions, or IAMs, Entra ID, Okta, of course. And then some of the best stuff that's out there, might be Proofpoint Insider Threat Management, ForcePoint stuff. There's a lot out there from this perspective.
Right.
So the key policies that you'll need to have, as we always go through the policy sections, so that personnel security policy, establishing guidelines, and defining the background check procedures, all those types of things. Access revocation policy. So what are we going to do in the event that we have to revoke privileges from someone? And then the security training and awareness policy, and just establishing that that's going to be done and followed.
Yep.
So the controls that are satisfied in here are 3.91, which is the screening individuals prior to authorization, and 3.92, which is ensuring that organizations' CUI is protected. Yep. So some common challenges, I brought up some of those at the beginning. The inconsistent personnel screening process can get in the way. Maybe delayed access to revocation, so meaning that somebody quits and then like 2 weeks later you turn them off.
We forgot.
That happens. I mean, I think that probably happens to everybody. Maybe even missing little things like access control type stuff or door codes.
Yeah.
Just there's all that
This
stuff.
is where like all of that should be in that process, right? I mean, your ticketing system should be your evidence for that, where, you submit a ticket to offboard somebody, it kicks off a process, even if it's a Word document that just gets attached to the ticket, right? I mean, that is your evidence for this. So you want to make sure that is timely and straight.
No, 100%. And then I think organizations still struggle to just maintain employee engagement with security awareness. And we talked about it a lot on the podcast, and I've talked about it a little bit on the YouTube channel about our partnership with Cybersecurity. We're trying to elevate that employee engagement process and make that more engaging, so that we don't have just people sitting in seats and pressing buttons and not really learning anything. So.
Right.
I think that pretty much covers about what we wanted to cover here. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered personnel security. So
all right.
Join us next time. We'll be talking about physical security.
Oh, yeah. That's another good one.
It's another one that's in your wheelhouse, man.
All right.
So.
Well, we'll talk to you next time. See you, everybody.
See you next time. Thanks.